Praise the Lord, church. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. To begin, I would like to give honor to my pastor's brother and sister Olson. This vision has been given, God has given them, has been encouraging. Getting to know those and hear the miraculous testimonies that God has done in others' lives.
Amen.
I would like to also thank my husband for his encouragement and support during this preparation.
Amen.
As soon as I was asked to speak this Wednesday night, I knew in my heart what to speak on. As time went on, God confirmed over and over. I truly believe this is something the whole church needs to get a hold of. Pastor has spoken on similar notes the last few services. This short message is titled, Trust God Through the Process.
Amen.
Please stand with me for the reading of the word as we turn to Romans chapter 8, verses 5 to 8, then jumping down to verse 28. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, yes. For it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. Verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. You may be seated.
Amen. Praise God.
For those that did not know, our home was broken into exactly 1 year ago tomorrow. I would like to help paint a picture of the struggles I personally faced after the incident. Once the crime scene unit left our home, I felt fine. I started off thinking on how blessed we were to have been okay. We are not attached to materialistic things. Those things can be replaced. But the bond between husband and wife cannot. I was grateful to have everything be physically okay. Once the weekend came, all these thoughts flooded my mind. I started to have nightmares that they were going to come back while we were sleeping. I started to think about if my husband Cody were to have been home just an hour earlier and walking in on them, what would have happened then? As the days went on, the thoughts crept in more and more. As I thought more about it, the thoughts became more real, more graphic. I couldn't be home alone in our house. I needed family or friends to stay the night every night with us. Even then, I would only sleep for maybe 2 hours every night. I could only sleep when others were awake. I would think that someone needed to keep watch in case something did happen. We would all sleep out in the living room, on couches, the floor, and recliners. My husband, my in-laws, my god-sister, and our dog. I would just like to say that I am so grateful to have a family who is willing to be there through the process, through the growth. I ended up losing close to 20 pounds because of the fear that settled in and made a home within me. I truly felt paralyzed from my head to toe.
Jesus.
I would sit there while my family would laugh and talk, feeling so empty. Silence for hours. My dad would say that when we spoke on the phone, that I was just not all there. I was not my joyful, loving self. I pleaded with God to help get me through this, begging him to take this fear away, begging him to remove these thoughts that were drowning me. I wanted things to go away immediately, and nothing happened. Little did I know I was praying against God's will. After praying over and over again, I started to feel discouraged. I started to look to people around me, friends and family in the world, those who did not truly know the God I served. They all filled my head with doubt and thoughts of the world without even realizing it. We tried 3 different security alarm systems like others suggested. I was told to buy a gun for protection. Sleep with it under your pillow, they said. It will bring comfort. Instead, I started sleeping with my Bible under my pillow for comfort. Like a child with a blanket. That security, that comfort. I knew deep down that I started to see my faith slowly slip away. I slowly stopped praying, stopped reading the Psalms Elder Cole gave me to pray. I started to resent God because I felt he was not answering my prayers. I was upset. I would ask him why this was happening. Why was I feeling this fear? I never experienced anything like this. What did I do to deserve this? I remember thinking that specifically. I wanted to give up, not walk away completely, but instead become lukewarm. As my husband spoke about 2 weeks ago, it is a very dangerous place to be. I knew this and I saw it. Why am I giving you all these details? Because it is something that crept in at a slow, steady pace. I went from seeking God with my whole heart to being upset with him. It all started with a thought. I allowed myself to entertain those thoughts. I allowed myself to listen to the world. But God, he had other plans.
Yeah.
He had other intentions. I could still feel him nudging at my heart to keep going, keep pushing forward. Even though I wanted to give up because of the defeat I felt, it was because of the foundation that my family and I laid down for our lives. It is because we were taught to pray when we didn't feel like praying. Read the word even though we did not feel like reading the word. Yes, I was struggling, but I kept feeling God nudging at me. Just as it says in the passage we read, Romans 8:5, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. By choosing to seek guidance from those in the world, it is evident that we are seeking comfort from the flesh.
Amen.
Instead, church, we need to go after the things of the Spirit. Read his word for comfort. Continue to pray even when we don't feel like praying.
Amen.
Seek guidance from the godly influence God has placed in our lives, who will help steer us to trust in God and help encourage our faith. Stop looking to others to help you feel better. Look to God.
Amen.
Then in verse 6, for to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. That is a sobering thought on so many levels. By allowing ourselves to take the worldly advice, worldly guidance, we are allowing our mind to be carnal. I have always asked myself, if God was physically here, would you say that out loud? Would you do that? Well, church, he is everywhere.
Yes.
God sees all and hears all.
Yes.
Verse 7, because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. I looked up the definition of enmity in the concordance, and it is defined as hostility and hatred. To be carnally minded is to be hostile towards God, to hate, have bitterness, malice towards God. Verse 8, so then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. By me allowing the thoughts to continue, to be entertained, listening to the world's advice on what to do, is why it took so long for this trial to pass. I was thinking fleshly, but during the process, God was trying to remind me time after time that all things have a purpose.
Yes.
Even though I wanted it to go away quickly, it was in his will for me to be broken down so his spirit could build me back up, put me back together, take me to the next level, reveal my weaknesses so they can be worked on.
Amen.
Romans 8:28, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. So instead of going down a fleshly whirlwind, we need to stop and ask God, what can I learn through this? What are you showing me, Lord? I trust you. I know this is for a much bigger purpose. Forgive me for looking to the flesh and acting upon my flesh. Forgive me for not fully putting my trust in you. As I close, I pray that the thing you take from this is to trust God through the process and walk after the Spirit.
Amen.
Even if you don't understand or can't see him working, he is there.
Amen.